Okay, hi everybody. This is our 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon live Facebook broadcast from the Murrieta Studios in Los Altos, California.
Yeah, that's where we are.
I'm with my esteemed colleague, student and friend, Kyle Jones, and we're going to talk all about dating strategies. Now, right now, Roger has joined us. And can you tell us, Roger, if you can hear us okay? Because we know the video's okay, but can you hear us? You know, can you let us know how the sound is? Ooh, this is scary.
Oh, it's very scary.
Yeah, last week we had a lot of trouble with sound and almost had to cancel the show. Let's see. Can anyone hear us? Roger.
No.
Oh, loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Fabulous. Okay, that's great.
Exciting.
So we're going to have a very down-to-earth show, talk about the things they never taught in medical school, or maybe not even in your PhD program.
Not at all.
Or in psychiatric residency, which is really how to hustle, how to play the dating game. Yeah. Oh, hi, Rob. Rob is my number one fan in the whole world. And I'm dedicating the new book, Feeling Great, to Rob.
Oh, you are? Oh, that's so nice of you.
Yeah, and also to my cat, Obi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very special.
Yeah. And let's see, two quick announcements here. Coming up soon, July 3 to 6, 2018, I'm giving my 4-day intensive in Whistler, Canada. Mm-hmm. I'll also be doing one in August in San Francisco at the South San Francisco Conference Center. But since the Whistler one is coming up, I'll give you the contact information for that. Now, my 4-day intensives are my best teaching of the year. They're a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. You get a chance to practice techniques. I'll be doing a live demonstration. Oh. They're loads of fun. This one is sponsored by Jack Hirose and Associates. That's Hirose. And if you want to call about registration information, it's 1-800-456-5424. Or you can link to the registration simply by going to my website, feelinggood.com/workshops. And then you'll see workshop announcements, and you can find the one for the 4-day intensive in beautiful Whistler, Canada. So I hope to see some of you there. And then the other announcement is that you're going to fall in love with Kyle here in the next hour. And Kyle is not only a super hustler.
I have my moments.
Yeah, but also a fantastic therapist. He's been in my Stanford training group for the last 2-3 years, mm-hmm. and has just, certain people have tremendous aptitude for psychotherapy in general and for team therapy. And he's now working at the Feeling Good Institute in the low fee clinic.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for some amazing team psychotherapy for yourself, or mm-hmm. consultation in how to do team therapy, you can contact him at Kyle at www.feelinggoodinstitute. That's one word, feelinggoodinstitute.com.
Or wait, it's just Kyle at feelinggoodinstitute.com.
Oh, did I say www?
Yeah, no www.
Well, I'm somewhat elderly and demented.
That's okay.
Okay. Yeah, Kyle at feelinggoodinstitute.com. Feeling Good Institute is one word. So let's start out. Where do you want to start out? I'll say the topics we want to cover today, mm-hmm. and then you folks. Oh, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers.
Happy Father's Day.
And one good reason to learn to hustle, so you'll be able to be a father.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, and Bernie is here. Hello. Thank you for Happy Father's Day, Bernie.
We got a hello from Italy. Hello.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. David Consalvo. Great. And then Kathy Leffler. Hello from Milwaukee. And Kathy might be coming to the intensive in San Francisco.
Oh, that'll be nice.
And Heinrich Heckmeyer, thank you for your work, Doctor. Roger Aguilar. Donald J. Trump, please help me. I'm having trouble with. No, I don't want to go there.
I don't think so.
No. No, he doesn't have trouble with
He doesn't need our
dating.
help.
No, he doesn't.
He's
He
got
doesn't.
plenty of techniques and skills.
Roger Aguilar and others. So let's go ahead and get started on this thing. There's 4 topics, not in any particular order.
Mm-hmm.
One is a little bit on online dating sites. Is that a good idea? And what are the secrets of doing that effectively? And how should you think about them? How should you promote yourself? How should you screen people?
Mm-hmm.
The second fun one that Kyle has prepared for us is when you're with someone and you want to make the first move.
Oh yeah.
How do you do that?
It's a fun engagement.
Perhaps the most important dating topic of all, including one that we've been dealing with actually in real time earlier, is on our Sunday hike. Mm-hmm. We had a huge Sunday hike, by the way, today.
Yeah. We're like what? 12 people?
Something like that. Yeah. Usually we have 3 or 4, but it was because Kyle also helped me with an intimacy training program on Friday.
Yeah, that was a great workshop.
Yeah, and then a lot of them wanted to come to the Sunday hike.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't even know where I was, but
being alone.
Oh yeah, the importance of overcoming your fear of being alone, because when you're and this workshop, this podcast today is for therapists and for the people you treat, or for just anyone who's single and
ready to mingle.
Yeah. And when I was in my clinical practice, in private practice, nearly 60% of the people who came to me were not involved in intimate relationships. They'd been divorced and couldn't get back into the dating game, or they'd never developed intimacy in the first place because of severe shyness or just not knowing how to play the dating game. And so it's really practically my favorite topic. And also because when I was a medical student, I was such a nerd when I was growing up, and we were so religious, and it was all, you were supposed to, if you just introduce yourself and said you were a nice person, women were supposed to just fall all over you, and that never once happened. Right. and then I met this fellow. His first name was Michael. I won't reveal his last name. I would love to contact him again because I haven't seen him since medical school days. But he was a super hustler, and that's frowned on today. But let's face it, some people are really good in that dating arena. And he kind of took me under his wing and taught me the secrets, how to do it. And it was one of the most phenomenal experiences of my life. And then I found I used to cut medical school, and we just go around hustling,
trying to go on dates.
Oh, yeah. And
it's a great time.
But I learned a lot. And then those were some of the things that were the most. My patients were the most grateful for was the stuff I learned on the street. So. Let's start out with how to deal with people give you the runaround. Should we start on that? You want to start us off on this topic?
I could start. Well, why don't you start? Why don't you see where do you want to start?
Well, our first hike was great.
Oh, yeah. So now, David, I think it was probably, I don't know, maybe a few months into me coming to the Tuesday group, and I had just gotten dumped by this guy, and I was feeling really down and depressed and just upset and sad, and I was totally, heartbroken, right? I was really just totally bummed. And I think so there's 2 components, right? So there's the personal work of doing sort of like an individual mood problem, like trying to feel better, feel less depressed, feel happy and joyful about the situation, which I was interested in. And then there's the, sort of the dating part, right? Getting back out there, and also sort of how to play the game with the person that just sort of dumped me.
So there's the inner solution and the outer solution.
Exactly. Yeah, you talk about that so eloquently, and I think it's really true. And so after sort of the personal work of like getting myself to feel a little bit better, and I was feeling a little, happier.
Do you remember what any of your negative thoughts were?
Yeah, some of them were like, I'm not going to be, I'm never going to find a relationship again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to go out and date, or I'm not going to be able to meet people at bars, or I'm not going to be successful in dating, or, this guy's never going to come back and be interested in me again, or
Yeah. Now, let's show how the solution to that one first. Now,
Yeah.
remember when you got your enlightenment, we were turning the corner toward the visitor center.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do.
Yeah. And
It was great.
Well, yeah, and we'll just demonstrate externalization of voices, how
Uh-huh.
you change that dialogue in your head, because when you've been rejected, there's this natural, so you have this thing I call the Burns rule. People only want what they can't get,
Mm-hmm.
and they never want what they can get. So if someone rejects you, they're what you can't get, and so
Yeah.
you think they're just wonderful,
Totally.
and you think I'm no good, and so I guess you were thinking because this guy rejected you, you'd be alone forever.
Yeah, I'd be alone. I
Yeah.
missed my shot at true love.
Yeah, missed my shot. Okay, what's your name, Kyle?
Kyle.
And what's my name?
Kyle.
Yeah, so we're both going to be Kyle, and I'm just going to attack Kyle with his negative thoughts.
Yeah,
This is
okay.
called externalization of voices. You have to do some agenda setting, some empathy first,
Yeah,
but we're
yeah.
just demonstrating the technique. Could I talk to you for a minute, Kyle?
Sure.
I understand that your boyfriend just rejected you, and he was quite an awesome hunk of a guy.
This is so funny because I was so upset when this happened,
Yeah.
but now, he did reject me, and I sort of feel sad and disappointed about that. It was,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, I
for
guess
most-
you lost your one true shot for love and happiness.
That's just so ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, but there must be something wrong with you if he rejected you. You're not attractive enough, or you're not sexy enough, something, right?
I mean, I've definitely got some flaws. Maybe I'm not always attractive on my best days, but maybe he just wasn't interested in what I had to offer, and that's okay. And sort of he went off on his own way, and I can get back out there and find somebody new and more interesting and exciting.
No, you'll be alone forever because he rejected you. Everyone's going to reject you.
That just hasn't been my experience.
Yeah,
I know, negative Kyle, that you're really caught up in that idea.
yeah,
It sounds like it's kind of wonky to me.
yeah.
I've had lots of success, actually.
Yeah.
Lots of people are interested in me.
Yeah.
I sort of have to pick and choose.
I give up. So anyway, that's the
Yeah.
first part. Now, it won't be so easy with your patients as it is with Kyle, because this is a passing. It took us about 30 minutes or so to get
Yeah.
to that point.
And you did really good empathy
Yeah.
and agenda setting,
Right.
and really,
Right. Now then, what do you do? Because you see, my philosophy when you're rejected is well, the simplest word is called revenge.
Oh, it feels so good.
Yeah, and the idea is
We
not
love
only do you get over it, but you kind of force the other person to come crawling back and begging to get you back. Now, how does that work?
Well, so, you sort of make it clear that you're, okay, that's fine. It sucks that you rejected me, but go on and maybe you'll find somebody else. That's okay. And you don't talk to them, don't keep chasing them. Don't go groveling back. Don't go, oh, but I need to be with you, David. I gotta be with you.
Yeah.
It's like you've taught me, that's going to force them to reject you. So sort of just play it cool. Don't let them, don't engage, don't respond unless they respond to you. And then what worked really well for me, I actually had some anxiety and some avoidance, right? So I was afraid of going back out to the bar or meeting someone or even going on a date. And so my homework was to that very night, go out to the bar and just see what happened. And
But it was more hit on someone and get laid.
Yeah,
right?
hit on someone and get laid. And I was so anxious, and I was like, but this is my homework. I got to do it. I agreed. And then it was just like, it was like magic. I met somebody sort of standing at the bar, and we got to talking, and I just used some of the 5 secrets, lots of sort of stroking and inquiry and good thought and feeling empathy. And it was like the person was just putty in my hands, and I could, it's like, hey, you want to come back to my place? And
Yeah.
it worked out really well.
Yeah, great. And then what happened to your boyfriend who rejected you? Because see, I have this idea that the very moment you realize you don't need that person anymore, this kind of mystical thinking, but it's a practical truth.
Yeah.
That this vibration will go through the airwaves, and they'll suddenly get the message. Kyle doesn't want me anymore.
Yeah.
And the very moment they sense that you don't need them or want them anymore, what's going to happen then, Kyle?
They come crawling back. And, I think a few maybe weeks or something later, he sent me a text saying, how are you? I made a huge mistake. I want to, try this again. And yeah, and it worked. it was like magic.
Yeah. And then you didn't want him anymore.
Well, I had some personal learning to do, and I took him back.
Oh, you did?
I did, but then eventually, yeah, after sort of a month or a few months of trying to make that relationship work again, I did realize, hey, you're a great guy, but I actually am not sort of interested in what you're bringing to the table here. Still sort of the same old pattern, and I feel like I deserve a little bit better than that. And
goodbye and good luck.
Yeah, I think you're great. Really. Enjoyed the time we spent together, and you're really special and awesome, but it's just not going to work out between us. So yeah. And then,
that's so hugely important.
Yeah.
Now I can give a similar example from my book, Intimate Connections. And if any of you are single, that might be a resource. It's kind of outdated, but there's still some good stuff in there. And I've had a lot of people who came to me in workshops and said, because of your book, I'm now married. I was alone and shy and anxious and couldn't get dates. And I followed the book and it worked great. But when I was a medical student, I was living with this attractive young lady. Maybe I'll change her name just to call her Janie. That wasn't her name, but we'll call her Janie.
Sure, Janie.
And
she sounds great.
So she had this house in Palo Alto off of El Camino, and I was living there with her. And I think we had a couple other people living, in the garage or various rooms. Just kind of a commune type of deal.
Sure. There are lots of people there.
Yeah. And then this one night, this car I noticed hanging around in front of the house, and it was kind of shining the lights, the headlights on the house, and blinking the headlights on and off. And, it was very creepy. And then I thought, gosh, this is abnormal here. What's going on? Oh, and by the way, I had a broken jaw at the time. I was in a bar
after the bar fight.
Yeah, and my jaw was wired shut, so it was very fragile. And then these two guys showed up. The car came up, and these two guys came up to the front door, and they were kind of like, I would describe them as handsome, sadistic.
Sure.
Do you know that look at all?
Oh, yeah, threatening and sort of very attractive. And
they're involved in kind of criminal activity.
Leather jackets and they're, whatever they got going on.
Yeah, and they said something like, we're here to see Janie, and apparently it was an old boyfriend of hers.
Oh, wow.
And they barged right into the house.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was kind of angry and terrified, so I picked up the telephone and said to the operator, please send the police to this address. We have uninvited guests, type of thing. And then they started grumbling, and they laughed, kind of snarling, we're going to get you, type of thing. And I thought, oh, crap.
That's it.
What have I done? And I got pretty frightened. And then, of course, Judy was so pissed off at me, like she wouldn't even interact with, Janie. Yeah, Janie wouldn't even interact with me at all. And so I was just feeling terrible, and I didn't know what to do. I was panicked.
Yeah.
And then I had this kind of pseudo semi-underworld friend named Sergio. And he was like a psychodrama expert. He was like, don't ever let anyone put you down, like he knew how to win every battle.
Really?
Yeah.
He sounds great.
Yeah. He was good because I was this kind of wimpy guy.
Oh.
So I called him and like 1 a.m. I was so terrified.
Really?
And I said, Sergio, I'm so sorry that this is what happened.
Yeah.
And what should I do?
Oh my gosh.
And he says, oh, this is a real simple thing. He says, after those guys left your house, they went out and then they got drunk. and then they're going to, wake up with a hangover. So you call this guy at 6 a.m. to get him out of bed. And he'll be in this terrible mood.
Horrible mood. Oh my gosh.
And then you say to him, listen, Jim, or whatever his name is, I made a huge mistake last night trying to prevent you from seeing Janie.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the house today.
Yeah.
and you can just come on out and hang out with her all you want, and
Yeah.
maybe you and she will have a thing again.
Yeah.
And then Sergio said, once you've told him this, she said, he won't want to hear this because he's drunk. He's had a hangover. he couldn't care less, about
Yeah.
seeing her. He's not in the mood now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you tell Janie that you've invited so-and-so to come over and spend the day with her,
Uh-huh.
and to explore what's on. Oh, here it is. Danny. Hi, Danny, my buddy. Prine, Prine. I was misspelling his name. Danny is a good friend, a good team therapist, and we got together Saturday, and he kind of told me off,
Really?
and it was good. I learned some stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's great.
Yeah, it's painful.
It is.
Yeah,
It is painful to get told off.
yeah, but you learn stuff.
You do.
Yeah.
What's been going on? Maybe that you've been contributing to a problem or something.
Yeah. I jump in too fast and haven't been using enough thought, empathy, and inquiry. And
Sounds like you got some good learning from it.
yeah.
You didn't shy away from that conflict.
No, I actually, when you sit down with someone, they say I'm pissed off at you. You say I'm kind of pissed off at you too. Let's talk it through.
Yeah.
There's something kind of refreshing about it. And
Yeah.
Danny is an extremely courageous individual, and
I love that.
he works so hard on learning team therapy, and he's learned fantastically. And he's a buddy now. I still hate you, Dan, but I love you now. So thank you. You can fight with me anytime you want.
Yeah.
Because you got a lot to teach me.
Isn't it kind of fun to fight too? It's kind
Yeah.
of like engaging.
But
and-
particularly if you don't want to hurt the other person.
Yeah.
And this is a way to develop a better,
connect.
deeper relationship. And hi, Mark. I apologize for misspelling your name on the write-up to your upcoming totally brilliant podcast on brain function.
Oh,
And
nice.
that's something for all of you to look forward to on the Feeling Good broadcast. Mark Noble has given us a beautiful talk at my Tuesday group at Stanford on how the brain works, how team CBT affects brain function, why it works the way it does, what accounts for this high-speed recovery. And he's a brilliant neuroscientist. And that's coming up. But at any rate, so I told Janie, he's going to come on over. And then Sergio also told me, then get on your motorcycle, go up in the woods, find some party,
Yeah.
party, have fun.
Yeah.
And then you come home at the end
go
of the
find
day.
something else to do.
Yeah.
I think that's an important part. You got to go find something else fun and engaging to do.
Yeah, exactly. And he says, I guarantee when you come home, he will not have been there. And so I got on my motorcycle. I had this Triumph 500 Scrambler, which was you could go on the dirt and stuff with it.
Cool.
And instead of going to medical school, I decided to skip classes and find a party.
Great. Yeah.
And I found this commune up in the woods.
Really?
And these people were kind of tripping out, having this party.
Like on LSD or something?
Some of them were,
Acid,
I think.
Oh, good.
It was this was the 60s, the hippie magic era. And I ended up making out with this girl in a hammock.
Wow.
For about an hour. It was just totally wonderful.
Way to go, David. That's great.
and then I got on my motorcycle and went home.
Yeah.
And Judy, she was kind of Janie. Yeah. Janie was, you might say, on the tough side.
Okay.
Cool, but a tough.
Okay.
But she wasn't into cocaine or house or anything
She was
like
sort
that.
of like that.
Something. But she was neat. I mean, she was really neat. And I came home and she had cleaned the house. And she made this beautiful dinner for me, which had never happened before.
Wow.
But it was.
So you got her to chase you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind
The
of cool.
same thing. And then if I have time for one more on this incredibly important topic, then I believe these things can be taught.
Yeah.
And so I decided to see when my daughter was a teenager, like so many of us when we're teenagers, she was kind of a little on the angry side and the downside, and we lived in this real fancy neighborhood,
Okay.
but we weren't ourselves wealthy at all, and there were a lot of wealthy kids and stuff, and she felt like she wasn't popular,
Okay.
and she thought it was kind of like popularity you're born with. It's like you have this key on your head for popular.
And that means you automatically get friends and relationships.
Yes.
A good group in high school.
Yeah, and you have money
because
and
you're
fancy
branded.
jewelry, and you
Yeah.
hang out with the perfect people, the beautiful
And
people.
it just sort of comes.
Yeah.
to you.
And I told her, Senior, I'm kind of nerdy and, awkward and maybe not the best father, but the one thing I can tell you, teach you how to make all the boys in the world chase you if you want. She said, Dad, shut up, you're an ass. You know what you're talking about. And then my wife said, no, Senior, your dad is a bit of an ass, but in this area, he really, really knows what he's talking about. He's written this book on it, and you should let him teach you how to play the dating game. And so one day she said, okay, Dad, let's see, what do you have to teach me? So I taught her, and she was really a fast learner, like how to flirt and play with boys rather than, being so needy and serious.
To be flirty and playful.
And then how to change the way she dressed. So she dressed in a real kind of sexy and appealing,
attractive way.
Way. And she picked up on this stuff, and pretty soon she was dating the cutest boy, whose name was Ian. And he had a band that won the Battle of the Bands, and he was blue-eyed blonde. He's a gorgeous guy.
Good.
But the rumor,
I like blue-eyed blonde.
But the rumor was that he had trouble with his mother, and that he treated girls badly, that he would give them a runaround and cancel dates at the last minute, and that was kind of what he liked to do. So I taught her, I said, he's going to do this. He's always showing up late for dates, and one of these days he's going to call.
Sounds like a real keeper.
And he's going to try to break your heart, and here's what to do when it happens. So one day I was in my office working, and the phone rang, and said, is Senior there? And she just happened to be in there. Oh, yeah, she's right here. And I knew it was Ian. And just, so she's talking to him, and she says, Dad, could I just, she said to him, oh, can I just give me a second here? And she put her hand over the receiver. Well, I could hear what he was saying. And he was saying, Senior, you're a real nice girl, but I just want to be friends. That type of thing. So she said, so should I let him have it now? And I said, go for it. And so she took the receiver, and she said, Ian, I'm so relieved that you called to tell me this. and he says, what? Why? And she said, well, because I've been feeling the same way, but you're real cute, but I tell you the truth, I've been wanting to date other guys, but I didn't want to say that and hurt your feelings. And I just think you should be dating other girls. And but you can call me anytime you want, just to be friends. and he says, what are you saying? And he says, you want? He said, you want to date other guys? You don't want to date me? And she said, no, but I mean, you're real cute. You've got all kinds of girls, and maybe you can set you up with some real cute girls. And I said, well, okay, if that's the way you feel. and he hung up. And then she said, now what should I do? And I said, well, find someone with higher status. He's a sophomore. Find some real cute guy who's a senior or junior, and flirt with him. And the moment he asks you out, I can guarantee Ian will become your slave for life. So she got this other guy, Dave, who also had a band. But Dave's band played in nightclubs and got paid. So they were they
were a little bit higher up. Higher status.
Yes, that's right. And he was a little darker in personality, you might say, than Missy, and he was kind of a more dangerous type. And so I said, well, then flirt. So she flirted with him, and then the next day she brought a little card note that he'd given her. Senior, I think I'm in love with you. Here's my phone number. Please call. Maybe we could have a date. So she called him, and she started dating Dave. And then she got a telephone call from Ian every Sunday for the next 2 years.
Really?
Begging.
2 years?
Yeah, begging for a date.
It's almost like a little stalkery.
But it's the same thing that you learn, the same thing that I learned, the same thing that everyone has to learn, is that people only want what they can't get. And when you're dating someone, often the other person will try to give you the runaround. It's kind of like a test. to see if you're gonna cave in. And if you chase them, which is what almost 100% of people do almost 100% of the time, then they're forced to reject you.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Dan Prine said, "Ouch!" Oh, Dan has cracked ribs. He was thrown off a horse, and maybe it's a pains, Danny, to laugh with you. Yes, Danny. Yeah, and I'm so grateful to you, Danny, for joining the show today too. And what a beautiful email you sent me just a little while ago. I appreciated that a lot. Yeah, and so anyway, that's the first principle.
Yeah,
is don't
chase.
Yeah, don't chase.
Don't chase. Be a little unavailable.
Yeah. Now, to make that genuine brings us to another point, which is to overcome the fear of being alone, because the love addiction is one of the biggest beliefs in our culture. Like Barbara Streisand says, people who need people are the luckiest people in the world. But as a psychiatrist, the people who have needed people have been pretty unlucky.
Yeah.
And if you think I need Janie's love
to be happy,
then Janie will be forced to reject you because you're needy. And the person who is needy will do the chasing.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who gets chased has all the power.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're afraid of being alone, if you think you need someone to feel happy and fulfilled, if you need love or some person's love, it's going to be very difficult, in my opinion, to develop loving relationships. The people who have come to me clinically, who have said, "Oh gosh, I can't be happy without love," have been ones who have been getting rejected all the time, or jerked around by their ex-husband, or something like that. And so, in my book, Intimate Connections, and when I worked with people clinically, I said, if you want me to show you how to turn your love life from rags to riches, I believe we can do that. But I'm not willing to teach you how to do that unless you're willing first to overcome the fear of being alone.
Mm-hmm.
And one way to do that is to use the pleasure predicting sheet, which I talked about on one of my Feeling Good podcasts, and you can find it in my books like Feeling Good, or any of my books, Feeling Good Handbook. And you schedule activities when you're by yourself, as well as when you're with other people, and then you predict how happy they're going to be from 0 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
And many people that I've worked with have had this intense belief that as long as I'm with other people, I'll be happy. So they'll predict 90%. And if I'm just alone, jogging or filing or whatever, it's not going to be very rewarding. And then what you sometimes learn, and it doesn't always work this easily, is that some of your happiest times in your life is when you're alone, and some of your most miserable times are when you're with other people. But it can be all over the map. Kyle is now going to say something very important about overcoming the fear of being alone. Because
you kind of what? No. I think everything that you're saying is true, and there's plenty of times where, I've personally gone out and like, oh, I've got to be doing something, or I've got to be with other people, and to be totally happy. But then I'm just kind of like, I don't know, anxious or not really into it, or sort of miserable. And like even recently, where I've sort of been getting the runaround with a new sort of love interest, I found the most pleasure over the past weekend, obviously hiking with you, but at the same time, I got this new book that I really like, and I sat on the couch and I was just alone reading, and it was like the most sort of pleasurable and serene thing that was very enjoyable.
Oh, by the way, that's the psychodynamic book that my resident gave me, that I'm supposed to read certain pages that I'll give. It's called Attachment in Psychotherapy. And we're trying to integrate, here it is, here's the camera, and there's certain pages here. We're trying to integrate some of the psychodynamic, psychoanalytic stuff with team therapy.
Yeah.
And once I've read this section, then I'll give it to you. But when Beck I was on one of Beck's weekly seminars, and someone emailed me, is he still alive?
Yeah, he's alive.
I think he's like 99 or something.
He's getting up there, yeah.
Yeah. But in one of the, I used to go to his weekly seminar, and now I give weekly seminars. But in one of his weekly cognitive therapy seminars, when in the early days of cognitive therapy, he says, love is not an adult human need.
Oh, really? He said that?
Yeah, and I thought the guy was a sociopath. Now I know he's a sociopath. Like how could he make such an outrageous statement? And then I decided to check it out, to find out using the pleasure predicting sheet, because like so many people, I had this belief you've got to be loved, got to be involved with other people in loving relationships. You can't really feel happy. And so I was in Las Vegas giving a booth. I was my psychopharmacology days, and there was some conference,
Sure.
and I had an all expense paid trip to go out and man this booth about antidepressants. At a trade, psychiatric trade.
For like Zoloft or something?
Something like that,
Yeah.
And then one of the other drug reps who was there says, we're all going to go out to dinner. You want to go out to dinner with us tonight? Mm-hmm. And then I said, no, I've got some other plans, because I said, I'm going to test this thing.
Okay.
And so I used my pleasure predicting sheet, and I said, I'm just going to take myself out to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was I knew all my expenses would be paid, so I just got in a taxi. I dressed up real nicely, and I got in a taxi, and I said, I want you to take me to the most expensive restaurant in Las Vegas. So he took me to this place, and I was predicting how satisfying will the taxi ride be, every little piece, and I said, wow, that was kind of fun, and I walked up to this restaurant, and I told the maitre d', I'd like to eat here tonight, and I need the best table in the restaurant. I gave him a $20 bill, because again, I knew I'd get it back. He says, oh yes, we have your special table, doctor. So I sat down, and I ordered all this wonderful food. Yeah, and it was just like this euphoric experience. It took me by surprise. And then afterwards, I got in another taxi, and I said, well, take me to some show, I think some girly show or some type of deal, type of thing. And it was just incredibly fun. And I kept writing down how enjoyable from 0 to 100 all these things were. Exactly. And it just was a shock to my system. And I said, wow, you really can be maximally happy
by yourself.
And then I thought, well, but it would wear out after a while. Like if you're alone long enough, you'll eventually become depressed.
Totally.
And so I tested that, because my wife's mother was sick, so she had to go to California for a month.
Oh no!
With the kids.
So you were a month alone.
Yeah, and I saw my patients, but every evening, all weekend, I turned down any social engagements. And I discovered that the longer I was alone, the more euphoric I became, and it was just amazing. Yeah. So anyway, there's more on that in the first section of Intimate Connections, techniques to overcome the fear of being alone. But the problem is that if you need other people, your approach to relationships will be kind of like self-centered, you might say.
Yeah, like you need to get something from them to be happy.
Yeah.
Right? And then you won't actually be, maybe you won't be generous or compassionate. You'll always be looking for what you need. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, rather than what you can give them. And
how you could be warm and empathic and considerate and thoughtful.
So we've done run around. We've done the fear of being alone. We're just touching base on these things. And if anyone has any questions, type them in here, and we'll, is there one?
Scroll all the way up to the top? Oh, no. I don't think so.
But one other is, a question people often have is, how do you make the first move when you're on a date and you're kind of...
This is my favorite thing. Okay. This is my favorite thing. And so David has this technique, in team, one of the advanced empathy techniques called changing the focus, right? Where instead of making what you're talking about, like the content of the problem the patient has, or, using techniques or methods or setting an agenda, you sort of change the focus to what's going on between you, right? You make sort of a comment based on the process of what's going on between you. And so I thought to myself, oh, this is a great idea. I can use this when I'm, in a dating situation, like after the first date, you've gone out to dinner, and, the timing's important. You got to time it right. And typically I wait to the end of the first date, as you're exiting the restaurant, or, maybe as you're walking the person to the car, or maybe, I think for me, with that pole dancer I was dating, he ended up driving me to my car, and and I'm sort of sitting next to him, and I just sort of turned over and I said, so how do you think this is going between us? I'm really excited. I really had a good time with you, but what do you think? How do you think the date went? And he's like, oh, I thought it was great. I've had a good time. It's been so nice to talk to you. You're, really, I'm really liking what's been going on. And I said, okay, that's great. I think, how would you feel if I made a move right now?
Yeah.
Like if I just, how would you feel if I made a move? Do you think that would be okay? Do you think that's, all right? And he goes, yeah, I think that's okay. I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And then you just lean in and you make the move, Exactly. And it's it works. I think it works in a couple of ways, or at least this is why I like it. Change the focus to make the first move is, number one, you sort of get some information about how the other person's thinking about you. And if they give you any kind of a cold shoulder, then maybe you don't want to, move on in the technique and ask like, oh, how do you think? Should I kiss you now? But if you do get a good response, like, oh yeah, this has been nice. I've enjoyed spending time with you too. Then making the first move can be awkward.
Yeah.
Right. Totally awkward.
Yeah.
And sort of shining the spotlight on the fact that you're actually going to do something about it.
Yeah.
Like you're going to say, oh, I'd actually like to sort of make a move. Do you think that would be okay? And they go, oh yeah, that would be all right. Yeah. And then you get consent. And you get to lean in and make the first move. It's kind of silly and fun and not totally, awkward and dramatic. It's worked out really well for me. I think it's had like a 90% success rate. There was one time or a few times where it hasn't worked out, but that wasn't my fault. The other person was kind of weird.
Yeah. And in general, I would say the bigger point is, well, I had 2 points and then there's 2 fabulous questions we can address, but one thing is that a lot of single people make the mistake of trying to fall in love with the first person you go out with.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah, and again, that's that neediness, and there is a game playing aspect to relationships, and then like the ones I've been doing with Jill, there's a deep part where you use the 5 secrets of effective communication.
Well, yeah, that's what you've talked about with me is like, how do you go from game playing to intimacy? And it's not just a one-time sort of shift. You can go back and forth from intimacy to game playing depending on where you're at in the relationship.
Yeah, and what the other person is doing. And if you're moving into the more intimacy, vulnerability, wanting to share your feelings, be close, and then the other person pulls back, which will often be the case. Yeah. Then you have to go back to game playing.
And you've got to pull back. And you got to say, oh, maybe this isn't something you're interested in, or maybe I'm not the type of person you're wanting, and I think you're great, and maybe we should see other people. And,
Right. So, and I think accepting that there is a game to be played is an important thing, because, see, a lot of the people, single people, men especially, said, oh, well, I shouldn't have to play games. Women should like me the way I am, and
you got to play games.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Richard Agan asked.
Let me just say one more thing about the game playing part, and maybe it's not pertaining to the game playing, but some folks, have this idea that you can only sort of date one person at a time, and I mean, if that's your personal value and belief, then by all means, sort of only date one person at a time. But there was this a couple of months ago. I was up in San Francisco, and I had 2 dates set up on the same day. Yeah. And the first one didn't pan out so well, right? And so then I just called up the other person. I was like, hey, do you want to meet up a little bit sooner and we can sort of have our date, And it's like, that one worked out really well. We hit it off, made a good connection. Didn't pan into any relationship, but it was a fun time,
Yeah.
So having lots of options can be a good thing.
So let's address Richard Agan's question first, because we can do it pretty quickly, but it's a logical question, one I've heard many versions of over the years. So Richard's saying, so if you don't, essentially saying, why bother to have relationships if you don't need love to feel happy and fulfilled? Can you answer that, Kyle?
I think I like to think about it from like a motivation perspective.
Yeah.
If it's something you're interested in and you want, and you like the idea of being in a close, intimate relationship, but you're not dependent on that for your happiness, then I think by all means it could be something you can pursue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the difference between wanting something and needing something.
Yeah.
Would you like to have a Rolls Royce, a new Rolls Royce?
Sure, I'd love it.
How much would you love between 0 and 100?
Like 95.
We could, why not 99?
Well, sure, 99. That's great.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Are you going to give it to me?
Well,
You're gonna
actually,
find me one?
only when we make our first big television
Okay,
contract
sounds
with our
good.
show.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
But now, do you need a new Rolls Royce to be happy?
No,
Do you see that's
I've got my Ford Edge out there, which
Yeah,
I'm
right.
I'm happy with.
So in other words, we're not saying that love is undesirable or loving relationships are undesirable. We're just saying if you say I need to have love to feel happy and fulfilled, you're going to have an awful hard time.
Because
Probably.
it's a should statement.
It's a
Yeah.
should statement, and there's a lot of distortions in it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certainly nothing. It's the same with success. There's nothing wrong with. I'm working on my new book, Feeling Great,
Mm-hmm.
and it'd be great if it was a huge success.
Yeah,
But I
it'd
don't.
be nice for you.
Yeah, it would be fun. Might be fun for the people who read it too, because it would help them and help a lot of people overcome depression and develop greater joy, greater self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no guarantees that it will be a huge success. I would like it to be a success, but I don't need it to be a success.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. And if I needed it to be a success, I'd get so nervous when writing it. I'd be trying so hard, it would probably come across in a bad tone.
Yeah,
Pushy or
it
something.
wouldn't land well.
Okay. Heinrich has a great question here. How can a woman persuade her boyfriend
Mm-hmm.
to marry her after 13 years of being together? And Marla Steckron, who's a friend of Danny Prine, and also in the Central Valley, also comes up from some of the hot hikes. And we talked about you today on the hike, Marla, and hope to see you on another hike. Talked about you with some considerable affection. Or Danny and I were yesterday when we had breakfast together. But Marla says, that's a great question. I can relate to that specific situation, 8 years and counting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll start us on this one, and then you can pick up
Sure.
on it. This has to do, it's the same question in psychotherapy. How can we persuade somebody to change?
Well,
And the problem is that when you're trying to persuade your boyfriend to marry you, you're actually forcing him not to. Right?
yeah, he's going to dig in and resist you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. And it's the
Just
same.
like when you're telling a patient, like, you've got to do these techniques to become less depressed. Don't you want that? You've got to do this, right? They're going to say, no, I don't really want to do that. I'm too depressed.
Yeah, and they'll say, I don't want to fight this thought. I'm a worthless person. I really am a worthless person.
Yeah.
And they'll start arguing you and yes-butting you. And that's why you have to use the 5 secrets of effective communication and encourage the other person to talk, and then also do what we do in paradoxical agenda setting is let that fellow chase you rather than you chasing them. But I would say to read my book Feeling Good Together and learn how to use the 5 secrets of effective communication. You win the day, you win the argument by being a good listener, not by pushing to get your needs met. That's the 5 secrets part. And then in addition, if that's not effective, then you have to make a decision. Do I want to keep hanging out with this guy? If I really want to get married, like I know Marla, she's brings a tremendous amount to the table, and maybe to say, I think maybe I'm not the girl you're looking for, because I think I do want to find someone and get married, but let's take a little trial separation here and something like that. And again, if you're really serious about it, to not make yourself available on that level. It's just the same in psychotherapy. We sometimes have to say, if you want treatment for depression, homework is required. It's not optional. It's not negotiable. And if that doesn't appeal to you, I totally understand it, but I'm not the therapist you're looking for.
That's your fallback position.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's your fallback position.
Yeah.
And you got to decide what your fallback position is. Maybe you want to wait another, year before you bring it up again. Or
Yeah.
maybe you want to, maybe your fallback position is, let's actually sort of do a trial separation, or maybe this isn't what I,
Yeah.
want at all. So we've got to go our separate ways.
Right. But how would we do the 5 secrets? Well, let's say that you're my, this is kind of awkward, but I'm wanting to get married here, and
Sure.
that you're showing some resistance.
I don't know, David. I'm, I don't know if I can commit.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because it sounds like there's something about commitment to me that's maybe freaking you out.
I just don't like the label of being married. Why do I need to go through that, dog and pony show of really getting married to just have a relationship with you?
Yeah. That's right. And tell me about the dog and pony show, and what your associations are with that.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you think that getting married would be kind of a phony thing and a kind of an unnecessary thing.
Yeah, I just don't think it's necessary. Like I like what we've got going on. I don't want to change that. You know what I mean? It's sort of nice the way we have it. Why do you want to change it?
Yeah. Well, I've now in this case, the person isn't showing much vulnerability, right? Yeah. So then I have to go to my fallback position and say, I just want you to know, I just think the world of you, but I'm looking for something a little different in my life, and I don't hold it against you that you don't want a committed relationship. But for me, I feel kind of sad and a little bit incomplete, just living with someone, and I'm thinking maybe it would be time to have a little trial separation here. And
well, wait. So you're saying you want to break up with me, or not be together anymore, just because I don't want to get married?
Yeah, and it would be sad for me because I just love you to death. I think you're a wonderful person, but I would love to have a committed relationship, and that's maybe my neurosis, or maybe I'm too much with society's values. But I think it is a kind of part of me that I can't deny. And if this isn't what you're looking for, God bless you, and I'll be sad to lose you.
Well, wait a second here. If it's this important to you, I thought it was just sort of anyway.
Yeah, but I don't want to hook you in. Let's just go our separate ways for a while.
Hold on. Maybe we can keep talking about this.
I would feel terrible trapping you in a relationship that you didn't want. I'm probably not the girl for you.
No, but I do want to be with you. I do want to have a relationship with you. I'm just scared a little bit of getting married.
Well, let's talk about that fear. Yeah. So anyway, that would be like perhaps the style of doing a little.
Oh, this is a great question.
Okay. From Richard, or
from Richard. Oh, but Natalie said something also.
Yeah, well, let's take Richard's first. Is it okay to date someone you're not that interested in just because there's no one else around? I have an answer to that. I
would say, at least to the first half, is it okay to date someone that you're not that interested in? I would say yes.
I'd say yes also.
I'd say because if maybe there's some benefits to sort of just having a companion, spend some time together. Maybe, they have nice snacks at their apartment. Maybe they
practicing your dating skills.
Yeah, practicing your dating skills. Maybe maybe they've got access to a swimming pool. I don't know. Like maybe there's some.
But in addition to that, you're in demand.
Yeah.
And people only want what they can't get. And so maybe there's some person you do want to date, a guy or a girl, and they see you with somebody, and that makes you that much
more sort of alluring and attractive if you're unavailable.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how I feel about this if there's no one else around piece. Because I do think that.
Well, Richard lives in New York City, and there isn't anyone else in New York
I
City.
Didn't know that. So he's totally isolated.
Yeah. Well, what were you going to say? Because there's no one else around.
I think that.
Oh, we didn't talk about dating sites.
Yeah. Dating sites and dating apps. We might have to save that for another time. Well, I guess we got a few minutes.
Well, you can do a quick overview.
I think that speaks to there being no one else around. I think with today's sort of technology, you've got lots of different phone apps and dating websites you can be on. A lot of them are free. And
Philly, yeah, Richardson, Philly.
Yeah, in Philly. So yeah, definitely.
There's no one in Philly.
Totally isolated. You might as well be in Alaska. Just kidding. But yeah, no, there's lots of different dating apps, dating websites. They're free. You can make a profile. And
what percentage of your dates come from dating apps?
I would say like 90% of them.
Yeah.
I think, and we were talking to Heather, another person on the Sunday Hikes, who was saying that she also uses the dating apps also. And that's where she meets a lot of people and goes on dates from the dating apps. It seems like it's just sort of culturally the norm these days to sort of meet people online. And then, how to do that and how to set up a profile is, you want to have good pictures of yourself. You want to have a nice description. If you're going to say something funny in your profile, maybe include an emoji like a winky face or an exclamation mark. You sort of want to be genuine, but a little bit down to earth. What?
Are you looking at yourself here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Be funny, but down to earth. Humor is good. What are some when I was in practice, we were having people advertise in Philadelphia Magazine because the dating apps didn't exist, but that was radical at the time, and so I got pretty good at helping people create their profile for Philadelphia Magazine, and then one woman came to me she was a very attractive woman, about 30 years old, but she hadn't had a date in months and months. And I helped her do a thing for Philadelphia Magazine and a little ad. And then she was literally having a date every single day. Mm-hmm. And then she eventually met this really good guy and got married. And to this day, I still get a Christmas card from her.
That's so
year.
Nice.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's super nice.
It's like 40 years ago.
Yeah. And I think that's another point too, is that if you're on some dating apps, try and set up as many dates as you can. Try and meet as many people as you can. Try and be talking to as many people as you can. Try and have as many conversations going as you can. If that's not sort of an approach that interests you or feels sort of awkward, then, take it with a grain of salt. But I find that if you cast a wide net and you've got, a lot of different options going for you, then you just have more sort of going on as far as dating goes.
Natalie asked a question, and because our time is short, let me kind of answer, but we're on the same page as you, Natalie J., with your question. If you have a client who she just complains all the time about her boyfriend, but doesn't seem to see that it's the reason for her unhappiness, but she's overwhelmed by the thought of starting over. Well, again, that's that neediness thing we talked about. But one thing in my book, Intimate Connections, and there's a chart, like 25 qualities I'm looking for in an ideal mate. Mm-hmm. And then, like, the first would be availability, and the second might be sense of humor, and the third might be sexy and attractive, and the fourth might be faithful and loyal, and honest, and common values, and common interests, having fun together. Yeah. And then you rate the person from 0 to 4 in each of these 25 categories. And then you get a total score. You add it up, it'll be between 0 and 100. And it really helps you put people in perspective, because I've had patients who are having trouble with somebody. Thinking, oh, he's so wonderful, but he treats me badly. And then you add up the numbers, the guy's getting a score of about 40 out of 100.
Yeah, so it's not that desirable.
And then you can also, Beck said, if you get anyone with a score of 60 or above, marry them immediately. But that can also help you evaluate different kinds of relationships and realize.
Richard says my pictures always come out shitty, and that two things for that one. I mean, I'm not a photographer, but you see even on our screen, see how David's face is more lit up than mine, and there's like sort of shadows on my face. You want to make sure that you've got good lighting when you're taking a picture, and you can, if you're taking a selfie,
But also, in addition to that,
Yeah.
Jacob Towery in our group, our Tuesday group, as you know, he's a psychiatrist.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
my student, and now he's a colleague and teaches
Mhm.
with us. And he's a really awesome guy. He has this new book he wrote for
Mhm.
teenagers called the Antidepressant Book.
Yeah.
But he's been very heavy into dating. He got divorced, and then I
Mhm.
gave him a little coaching in his dating, and
Yeah.
told him to take a abstinence from dating, like
Mhm. A hiatus.
a hiatus for
Sure.
2 months before he was allowed to date. That he wasn't allowed to start dating until he learned he could be totally happy alone.
Mhm.
And he
Mhm.
actually did it. And now, I mean, I think he's dated 175 different women in the last 2 or 3 years,
Wow.
and then he found someone
He really likes.
He really likes, but
Yeah.
he has his photos taken professionally.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say too. Or have someone take some good pictures of you, because
Yeah.
you don't want grainy photos, you don't want blurry photos. People become sort of skeptical about profiles like that
Yeah.
have sort of
Right, and I had that same thought because I had a camera phobia ever since I was a child, and I
Yeah.
only got over it
by
about 1 year ago.
really.
Yeah, and I would get angry because when I was little, I looked peculiar, and my
Oh,
older
yeah.
sisters teased me all the time
Mhm.
and stuff like that.
Oh, that sucks.
But it took me a long time to get over that. And
Mhm.
now, and I actually, when I thought I looked shitty, I did look shitty because I was always in this bad mood and like,
Yeah.
why do I have to be in
Dark
this
and dark,
photograph? I don't
yeah.
want you to take my photograph. And,
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and now I like having my photo taken. So there was really an interchange that had to happen
Yeah.
there.
And probably some exposure too, right? Of actually having your photograph taken.
Well, that's the
and-
thing that helped me. I
Yeah.
got this camera that we're using,
Yeah.
and because I had to start doing Skype or something,
Hmm.
and then I thought once, I wonder if I could just click my own picture. This was about a year ago. I started because you can take still photos
Yeah.
with it, and then I looked at the photos. I said, "Hey, you don't look half bad." Because I
Yeah.
always thought I looked ugly,
Oh.
and then I thought, "No, David, you can look rather pleasant and appealing." And it was this huge shock to my
Yeah.
system.
It's like when, and it's, and you probably had to take multiple pictures, right?
Yeah, you have to find the one that makes you look the best. But well, the time is 4:00, and I don't want to hold people over, but let us know how you liked the broadcast, what you'd like to hear more of. You can email me, is probably the best way. I might try to get some. Marla says, "Haha," some exposure
from a camera.
right? But so we can find out what you like, what you'd like to hear. Did you like this style of broadcast today? Do you like more of a Q&A? What what would turn you on? Next week, Angela Crum is going to return again, and she'll do flirting part 2, specific tips of how you can flirt with
Oh,
people.
wow, that's good.
And
Angela's really good at that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
she is. And then we've got a lot of other really good stuff coming up. Goodbye, Natalie and Mark and Tyann. Thank you for joining us. And Tyann gave us 3 beautiful smiling faces.
Yeah.
Do you know her? Tyann
No, but those are nice
Crum.
smiley faces.
She's a team therapist, and
Oh,
I think
awesome.
Oklahoma, doing
cool.
work with women with postpartum depression. And
Oh,
stuff.
that's
She's awesome,
amazing.
and she's been helping us a little with some of our kind of PR
Yeah.
stuff too. And let's see.
and
Mark-
Richard, thank you for your comments. They were great and
Yeah.
gave us some things to talk about.
That's right. And then Mark says, "Hi, David and Kyle. It's great to see you both. Some funky internet connections at home, but hopefully I can stay on."
Mhm.
And thank you. You have a wonderful Father's Day, everybody. And
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
thanks
It
for
was
being
fun.
here. Yes,
Yeah, it was a lot of
you're the
fun.
best. Yeah, I just think you're fantastic.
Thanks, David.